There's a question from email. Should you win, Congress is essentially ridden by groups of congressmen banding together. The question from email, which was sent last night to me, I don't know if you're in the room, so I hope I'm addressing your question, was which party would you caucus with, or would you not caucus with a party? One of the larger parties.
I wouldn't commit to it. If they allow me in, I'd go in and I just make up my mind at the time, I suppose. I really wouldn't. I don't see how I can run as a third-party candidate and say, oh, I would caucus with that party or that party. My inclination would be that I probably wouldn't caucus with you.
Do you have time for more?
Can I follow up?
Since it's email, I guess it's yours. I don't know.
Yeah, so, what if you were the one vote? Swing majority and minority leader.
Wow.
Through whatever bizarre set of circumstances arose, and you were the one.
Can you repeat the question?
The follow-up question, the first question is, who would you caucus with? The answer was probably not anyone. But Ron's question is a little more pointed. We're now going to vote for Speaker of the House and to form the Congress. Who's going to run it? And he's the swing vote. However,
Is it now the most powerful man?
My vote would decide Speaker of the House.
Yes.
I wouldn't vote for Nancy Pelosi. I know that.
Good enough.
great answer. I think that was the false line over there. That's a good one.
Another question?
Certainly.
You spoke about, and you wrote about, unilateral liberalization of trade barriers.
Right.
Why is that going to be helpful to us to destroy or get rid of all trade barriers when other countries aren't doing that reciprocally?
Because it's not us versus them. We should not, if an individual here wants to buy something from an individual in another nation, they should be able to do it. And if somebody in another nation wants to invest here, they should be able to do it. And if somebody from here wants to invest in another nation, they should be able and willing to do it. And that is absolutely going to help the long-term prosperity of this nation, because it's a pro-consumer trade policy. And the reason we need a pro-consumer trade policy is it's the only thing we all are. We're all consumers. Beyond that, we do different things in our economy, but that's why we should have a pro-consumer trade policy.
No follow-up? Yes, no?
No.
Oh, yes, no follow-up.
The one thing you haven't mentioned is lowering corporate tax rates, which has driven manufacturing jobs and overseas, many jobs, many industries overseas, and we'll keep them there as long as our corporate tax is the highest in the world. So what would you do regarding corporate tax rates?
I think the corporate tax rate, my understanding is it's the second highest in the world, but it's bad enough. But actually this has been addressed, and that's through the flat tax. The way the flat tax would work is that there would be a business tax that would be equal to the personal income tax or personal earned income tax, but then dividends and interest that are earned by individuals would be tax-free. So what you're speaking to is the double taxation of corporations. That's the problem that you are asking about, and I'm saying the flat tax would do away with that.
We don't have a flat tax now. What would you do about what we have right now?
Right now, yes. I think we ought to greatly simplify the tax code, which is what the flat tax would do. We ought to get, which is what.
It's not responsive.
Yes, it is. No,
what we need to run now, we don't have a flat tax.
Okay, right.
Corporate tax.
Okay, assuming that we could not have a flat tax, I would look to do away with the corporate income tax. It brings in a single-digit percentage of total federal revenue. That percentage has been falling over time, and it's very costly to administer. What's frequently left out of the discussion about taxes sometimes, and particularly the corporate tax, is how much is spent by corporations just complying with the tax code. If you totally do away with it, then you not only do away with the tax, you do away with the compliance.
One last question.
And as a corollary to that, What about, you know, there's so many regulations on businesses, and if they don't do this, they get fined and lose lawsuits. And is there anything that you would do, not to go back to the sweatshop era, but to decrease some of these burdensome regulations?
Well, I think that there has to be a realistic cost-benefit analysis, or I mean a real cost-benefit analysis done to make sure that the benefits actually exceed the costs, which there are a lot of regulations where that isn't done, and I don't think that is the case. And I don't know if you've ever read Charles Murray's book, What It Is to Be a Libertarian, or something like that, but he actually goes back and looks at trend lines, workplace accidents, and things of that nature over time, going back before regulations were put into place. And it was already going down, and then the regulation, the point in time regulation comes in, and then it continues going down at the same rate where it was going down before. So I would say that there's that, plus I think voluntary associations like Underwriters Laboratories is a private organization for the electrical industry. We need private organizations, private regulations such as that replicated in more industries.
Is that time or is that
That's fine.
Okay.
I think that's all we have.
That's it for the afternoon.
This event, Ron, John, everyone who's involved in this event, and thank you for all you're doing to extend liberty in our lifetimes here in the United States. It's most valuable.
Did you get through another wrap up?
Oh, well, I've already used 2 of those minutes, so I'll just, I'll take another question if you want. I used 2 of those minutes already, to be fair, but
If you're going to cede your last 3 minutes to the last question, by all means, that's fair.
as long as it's a clear cut question.
It is. It's a lot easier than mine. What voter reforms would you introduce once elected?
Well, I would say one thing is that one of the things Frank Wolf voted for is campaign finance reform. This is an Incumbents Protection Act. It sounds good to a lot of people, but you know, now we're restricted to people running for office who can really finance a campaign well, to the wealthy, basically to people who are already wealthy, because the U.S. Supreme Court ruled in Buckley v. Vallejo that they could not restrict an individual's right to contribute an infinite amount to his campaign. So I would say that basically the voting system, I think the voting system, I could address voting system reforms, but they're basically state issues. But I think that one thing that would definitely help would be to free up and deregulate campaign finance. Eugene McCarthy's presidential campaign in 1968, his insurgent campaign within the Democratic Party that led to Lyndon Johnson not running for re-election. I've heard his campaign manager say that under today's finance regulations, that would have been dead on arrival. It never would have happened because it was bankrolled essentially by 3 wealthy people. And we have no campaign finance restrictions in the Commonwealth of Virginia for state offices. It works great, and we need to do the same at the federal level.
And that's a wrap, everybody.
All right.
Thank you very much, and I respectfully request your vote on November 2nd.